It was supposed to be a simple road trip, just two friends, the open road, and a weekend getaway. But something felt off, as if the road itself was twisting beneath them. The headlights flickered, the radio went silent, and a cold chill settled in the air. They tried to brush it off, but the unease grew with every mile. By the time they realized it, they were already too far gone. Anna and Jake never reached their destination. What happened to them still lingers on that highway, and it's not done yet. Anna and Jake were the kind of friends who thrived on adventure. They'd known each other since childhood, sharing countless memories, from late-night drives to endless laughter around a campfire. It was supposed to be just another one of those spontaneous trips. No planning, no rush, just the road, the radio, and the freedom that came with it. A weekend getaway to a cabin they'd rented for months, tucked away in the woods. The air was crisp as they loaded their bags into the car, excitement bubbling between them. The roads ahead were empty, but that didn't bother them. If anything, it only made the drive feel more exhilarating. The sound of the tires humming against the pavement, the occasional click of the turn signal, and the soft beat of their favorite playlist. Nothing unusual, just the start of a perfect escape. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, the world began to change. The stretch of highway they were traveling on seemed to grow quieter, darker. The trees along the side of the road seemed to close in on them, casting long, twisted shadows that danced like ghosts in the headlights. The air grew heavy, thick with an unnatural stillness, almost as if the world itself was holding its breath. Is it just me, or does it feel quieter than usual? Anna asked, her voice suddenly uneasy. She glanced out the window at the vast expanse of trees that seemed to go on forever. Jake chuckled nervously. It's just the isolation. We're far from civilization. That's why it's so peaceful. But there was nothing peaceful about it. The road ahead stretched into nothing, disappearing into a black void. There was no light, no sign of life, just the endless expanse of dark trees and empty asphalt. They passed by a gas station, its flickering lights barely cutting through the darkness, the parking lot empty. A couple of cars were parked, but the station itself seemed abandoned. As they passed, Anna swore she saw a figure standing in the corner of the lot. An old man, hunched over, watching them with a stare that felt too intense. Too knowing. Did you see that? Anna whispered, her heart racing. Jake glanced in the rearview mirror, but the gas station was already out of sight. Probably just some local hanging around. Don't let it get to you. But she couldn't shake the feeling. It wasn't just the gas station, it was everything. The trees closing in around them, the dead silence broken only by the occasional gust of wind. The road was too empty, too quiet, as if it had been waiting for them to arrive. The stillness was almost suffocating, as if the road itself was part of something much older, much darker. Every mile they drove seemed to bring them deeper into a place where time didn't seem to exist. A place where even the wind whispered in a language they couldn't understand. Maybe we should pull over for a bit, Anna suggested, her voice trembling slightly. Get out, stretch our legs. Jake didn't respond right away. His eyes were fixed on the road ahead, and for a moment, it almost seemed like he was lost in thought. Then he looked at her, forcing a smile. We're almost there. Just a few more miles. But something in his voice didn't sound quite right. Anna could tell he was trying to reassure her, but the uncertainty in his tone betrayed him. Something was off. Something wasn't right about this road, and deep down, both of them knew it. The car's headlights sliced through the darkness, illuminating the empty stretch of road ahead. The trees on either side of them looked like towering sentinels, their branches reaching out like gnarled fingers, as if trying to grab hold of the car. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the hum of the engine and the occasional crackle from the radio. There were no other cars on the road, no lights in the distance, just endless, empty highway, stretching on and on into the blackness. The feeling of isolation grew stronger with each passing mile. The quiet was almost too still, as if the road had been waiting for them, waiting for the right moment to reveal its true nature. As the minutes stretched into hours, the road didn't seem to get any friendlier. The dark trees lining the highway seemed to grow closer, their twisted limbs reaching out as if trying to draw them into the dense shadows. With every mile, Anna and Jake became more aware of how isolated they truly were. The hum of the tires against the road had become almost deafening in its monotony. They had passed a few gas stations now, each one more deserted than the last, with flickering lights casting long, strange shadows across the empty forecourts. But it wasn't just the eerie quiet that unsettled them, it was something more. Something felt off. Every time they stopped for gas, there was always an old man, thin, hunched over, with deep wrinkles and piercing eyes, standing just beyond the gas pumps, watching them. The first time it happened, they didn't think much of it. Just an old local, maybe. But as they passed more and more desolate stretches of road, the same man seemed to appear, standing there in the dark, his eyes never leaving the car. It wasn't always the same place. Sometimes he was near a rusted-out vending machine, other times standing just outside the convenience store. But every time, he was there, staring at them from the corner of his eye. "Did you see that old man?" Anna asked, glancing nervously out of the window, her voice shaky. Jake, who had been trying to stay calm, nodded slowly. "Yeah, I saw him. But it's just a coincidence. Small towns have their regulars." But Anna didn't buy it. Every time they stopped, it was the same. He was always there. Never approaching them, never speaking, just watching. His gaze felt like it was digging into their very souls, as though he knew something they didn't. The more they drove, the more it started to feel like he was waiting for something. Waiting for them. The feeling of being watched wasn't just confined to the gas stations. There were moments when the car would fall into a strange, oppressive silence. At first, they chalked it up to the radio cutting out, but then it started happening more often. The engine would grow quieter, almost like the sound of the car dying down, but they'd check and everything was fine. Just the usual. Nothing wrong. But why did the sound of the engine always seem to fade just when the quiet started to feel too deep? "Did you hear that?" Anna whispered, her hand gripping the door. Her eyes darted around, but all she saw were the dark woods pressing in on either side. "Hear what?" Jake replied, his voice tight, a little too calm. "The engine, it just stopped." Jake glanced at the dashboard, his eyes narrowing. "The engine's fine. You're just tired. I'm sure you're imagining things." But Anna wasn't sure. It felt like the car wasn't just traveling on the road anymore. It was being carried by something. Something that didn't want them to reach their destination. Something that had been following them ever since they took that turn onto the highway. A few miles later, another strange occurrence made Anna's skin crawl. She looked into the rearview mirror and saw the reflection of a figure in the back seat. It was quick, barely noticeable, but there was definitely someone or something there. "Jake," she breathed, her voice trembling. "Did you see that?" There was something in the back seat. Jake's eyes flickered to the rearview mirror, but the back seat was empty. "Nothing there. It's just your mind playing tricks on you. We've been on the road for too long." "It's nothing." But it wasn't nothing. She had seen something shifting in the reflection just out of reach. For a brief second, the figure had been there, but when she blinked, it was gone. It was like the car was playing tricks on her, or maybe it was the darkness closing in, making everything seem wrong. As they drove deeper into the night, the sense of unease continued to build, layer upon layer. Every shadow in the trees seemed to move. Every flicker of light in the distance felt like a warning. Anna felt it, Jake too, though he wouldn't admit it. They both knew something was off, but they couldn't explain it. Every turn, every mile, seemed to pull them further away from reality. And the old man, the one they couldn't shake, still lingered at the edges of their thoughts, watching from somewhere in the darkness. The car seemed to lurch forward, as if something had disturbed the steady hum of its engine. Anna shifted uncomfortably in her seat, staring out the window into the vast sea of darkness. The only light came from their headlights, slicing through the night, barely making a dent in the thick blackness that surrounded them. The trees pressed in on either side, their branches twisting like bony fingers. It felt as though they were being swallowed by the forest, every passing second suffocating the little light that remained. "Jake, let's just pull over for a bit," Anna suggested again, her voice more urgent now, the tension in her voice palpable. Jake didn't respond immediately. His grip on the steering wheel tightened, his knuckles turning white. He was trying to keep it together, but it was obvious that the unsettling atmosphere was affecting him too. "Not yet, Anna. We're almost there. Just a few more minutes." But his voice was shaky, unsure. Then a sudden flash of light. For a split second, the headlights illuminated something in the road ahead. Anna's breath caught in her throat. It wasn't a deer. It wasn't even an animal. It was a person. A figure stood in the middle of the road, unnaturally still. A man, tall and thin, dressed in tattered clothes that seemed far too old for the current time. But that wasn't what made Anna's heart stop. No, what made her blood run cold was the way he stood. His limbs were bent at odd angles, as if he had been twisted in ways the human body wasn't meant to bend. His arms hung at his sides like broken branches, and his head tilted to one side, an unsettling, jerky motion that sent a wave of dread crashing over her. His eyes, wide, hollow, and vacant, stared straight at them, unblinking, unfeeling. They reflected the headlights in a way that made them appear to glow, like two empty, black voids, beckoning them closer. For a moment, everything around them seemed to freeze. The car didn't move, the air didn't stir. It was just them and that figure, suspended in time. "Jake, stop the car!" Anna shouted, panic rising in her chest. She grabbed his arm, her fingers digging into his skin. But Jake couldn't move. His eyes were locked on the figure in the road, wide with fear. It was as though his body had frozen in place, paralyzed by the presence of something so unnatural. The figure didn't move, not at first. It just stood there, staring at them through the windshield, its hollow gaze piercing through the glass. Then, slowly, unnaturally, it began to sway from side to side, like a broken doll on a string, each motion jerky and offbeat. The sound of its movements, almost like a crackling, dry rustle, echoed in the silent night. "Jake!" Anna screamed again, her voice filled with terror. But it was too late. The figure, with that unsettling, broken motion, began to step toward them. Each step was a slow, deliberate lurch forward. The road was empty, but now it felt like they weren't alone. The car's headlights flickered, and then nothing. Darkness swallowed the light completely. The car jerked forward with a violent shudder, almost as if something had struck it from the outside. The engine sputtered, and the headlights blinked off completely, leaving them in pitch-black darkness. Anna's heart pounded in her chest as she stared out the window, trying to see anything, but there was nothing. Nothing but that heavy silence, now pierced by the sound of the figure's breathing. It was closer now. Too close. "Go! Jake, go!" Anna cried out in a frantic, panicked voice. With shaking hands, Jake fumbled for the ignition, his fingers slipping over the keys. His breathing was ragged, and it was clear he was struggling to comprehend what was happening. He finally managed to turn the key, and the engine roared to life, but the headlights stayed off. He slammed the pedal to the floor, and the car lurched forward, but not before Anna heard something scrape across the side of the car, sharp, like claws dragging down the metal. "Did you hear that?" Anna gasped, looking wildly around. But there was nothing to see, no sign of the figure. The car shot forward, speeding faster than it ever had, yet the road felt endless. "Keep going," Anna yelled, barely able to get the words out. But Jake didn't answer. He was too focused on the road, too terrified to say anything. For a moment, everything seemed normal again. They were moving, they were leaving the nightmare behind. But then the radio flickered on, crackling to life, filling the car with a strange static noise. Anna and Jake exchanged looks, confused, but before they could speak, a voice, faint at first, began to whisper from the speakers. The voice was low, guttural, as if it had come from the depths of the earth itself. It whispered their names, Anna, Jake, Anna, Jake, and then it stopped. The car lurched again, the engine dying for a moment, as if whatever had followed them had finally caught up. The headlights flickered back to life, but what they illuminated wasn't the road. It was the figure, now standing at the side of the car, its face pressed against the window, its eyes wide and unblinking, staring straight into Anna's soul. The car lurched again, and this time the figure was gone. The road ahead was empty, but it didn't feel like they were alone anymore. The car finally began to steady, the tires gripping the road once more, but the air inside felt thick, oppressive, like something had shifted. Neither Anna nor Jake spoke. They were both too shaken, their minds trying to process what had just happened. They could still hear the faint whisper of the voice in their heads, the distorted static, and that unnerving breathing that seemed to follow them. Jake's grip on the wheel had loosened slightly, but his knuckles remained pale. His eyes, wide and lost, stared at the empty road ahead, still unable to shake the memory of the figure pressed against the glass. They had escaped, right? The nightmare should be over, but something about the silence now felt far more menacing. As the minutes passed, the overwhelming urge to check for some sign of normalcy overcame Anna. She reached down to her phone, still gripped tightly in her hand, and unlocked it. "Maybe we should call for help," she said quietly, more to herself than to Jake, but as she scrolled through her contacts, she froze. Her thumb hovered over the screen, a strange chill creeping up her spine. There was something wrong, but it wasn't just the phone. It was something far more unsettling. The last picture in her photo gallery wasn't one she had taken. It was a photo of her and Jake, sitting in the front seats of their car, their faces relaxed, laughing. The kind of photo they always took on their trips. But there was something deeply wrong about this one. They had taken the photo hours ago, back when they were driving. She remembered it clearly, the last shot before they'd stopped at the gas station where they first saw the old man. The photo was bright, with smiles and the warm glow of daylight behind them. But this new photo, this one, was taken from a completely different angle from the back seat. A shot that neither of them had taken. And the worst part, they were both looking ahead, smiling, just like they were in the first photo. But in the reflection of the rearview mirror, behind them, there was something else. The figure. The same figure they had seen standing in the road. His twisted body was there, crouching, just behind them, staring directly at the camera. Anna's breath hitched in her throat. "Jake, look at this," she whispered, her voice barely a breath, but he was already staring at her screen, his face going white as he took in the same horrifying image. The image had been taken from the back seat, but they had been alone. They hadn't seen anyone else, not until they spotted the figure in the road. They hadn't stopped. So how was it possible for someone to have been in the back seat with them, without either of them noticing? Jake fumbled for his rearview mirror, checking behind them again. Empty. The back seat was completely empty. But Anna couldn't take her eyes off the phone. The picture was so clear. There was no mistake. The figure was right there, looking straight at them, just as they had passed him on the road. But this was impossible. Had the figure followed them? Had they driven straight into whatever nightmare they had just escaped? A cold sweat dripped down her spine as she scrolled through the rest of the photos, hoping it was a trick, a glitch in the phone. But the rest of the gallery was just as it should be, nothing out of place. Just this one image. Suddenly, the car jerked again. The steering wheel pulled sharply to the left as if someone, or something, had yanked it. Jake swore and struggled to keep control, his breath quickening. "What the hell is going on?" he muttered, panic rising in his chest. Anna's eyes were wide with terror, and she turned to look at the road, her mind racing with confusion. It was then that she noticed it. The road had changed. It wasn't the same road they had been on just a moment ago. The trees had grown closer, more dense. The signs along the side of the highway, which she could have sworn she had seen a mile ago, were now completely different. It was as if they were driving down a path they hadn't passed through before. The road seemed to shift and twist, becoming more unfamiliar with every passing second, as if they were trapped in a loop. Jake slammed on the brakes, and the car screeched to a halt. "This isn't right. We've gone off course. We should have hit a town by now." Anna turned back to her phone, her fingers trembling as she checked the GPS. The screen flickered, then flashed. The location marker had vanished. They were no longer on the road. They were in the middle of nowhere. The world around them felt like it was closing in. The weight of the air felt heavier, and as Anna looked up, the figure from the back seat, the one in the photo, appeared again. But this time, he wasn't just in the picture. He was standing right outside the car window. And the last thing Anna heard, before everything went silent, was a voice, barely a whisper, saying her name. "Anna." Then, everything went dark. The police arrived at the scene hours later, their lights flashing through the dark forest as the officers stepped out of their vehicles. The car was still there, parked neatly by the side of the road, its engine cold and silent. But the two occupants, Anna and Jake, were nowhere to be found. They searched the area for hours. No footprints, no signs of struggle, no traces of them anywhere. The surrounding forest was eerily quiet, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath, watching. The officers combed through the woods, shining flashlights into the thick undergrowth, but found nothing. It was as if Anna and Jake had simply vanished into thin air. There were no reports of accidents in the area that night. No nearby town had seen them arrive. It was as if they had driven off the face of the earth, swallowed whole by the road itself. But the mystery didn't end there. The car was found locked, its doors intact. Their personal belongings were still inside, their bags, their phones, even the map they had been using. Everything was exactly as it had been when they first set out, except for one thing. The photo. The same one Anna had found on her phone, the one from the back seat, of her and Jake, laughing, with the figure in the rearview mirror, watching them. The police found it too, buried in the phone's gallery. But there was no explanation, no answers. Just an image, frozen in time, captured moments before they disappeared. Some say the road is cursed. Others believe it's a portal, a place where time and space bend in unnatural ways. People who drive that highway now talk about strange occurrences, ghostly figures in their rearview mirrors, whispers carried on the wind, and the feeling of being followed, even when the road is empty. Some claim to have seen Anna and Jake, their faces twisted in terror, standing by the side of the road, trying to hitch a ride, but when the drivers slow down to offer help, they vanish without a trace. The road remains just as it always has, a stretch of dark, empty highway cutting through the woods. No one knows exactly what happened to Anna and Jake, or why they were taken. Some say they're still out there, trapped in that place between life and death, waiting for the next person to come too close. And if you ever find yourself driving down that same stretch of road in the dead of night, with the headlights casting long shadows and the trees closing in around you, listen closely. You might hear something in the wind, a whisper, a name, Anna, Jake, and you might just feel the cold breath of something following you, waiting for the right moment to claim its next victim. The road is waiting. Did you hear the whispers? Did you feel that chill down your spine as the story unfolded? If so, share this terrifying tale with someone who loves a good scare. You never know, maybe they'll start questioning what's lurking on those empty roads late at night. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to hear more stories that will keep you up long after the lights go out. And hit the notification bell so you never miss a spine-chilling moment. Have you ever experienced something strange on a road trip? A twist of fate or an eerie encounter that still haunts you? Drop your story in the comments below and let's talk about it. We want to hear from you. If you enjoyed the ride tonight, don't forget to like and share this video. Help spread the fear so others can join us in the darkness. Stay safe out there, and remember, the road might look empty, but you're never truly alone. Until next time, sleep tight, if you can.